What's going on, guys? Garden Report. Josue Pavon on location at the game. Celtics beat the Bulls 123-119. Bobby Manning is joining us as well, possibly Sherrod Blakely. Jimmy Toscano does not work weekends, but that's cool. It's in his contract.
Is that true? I thought he just said that. Jeez.
I don't know. He doesn't work. Weekends. It's all good. Anyway, so this is good. They needed one of these. Lost to the Bulls the first time they played them, lost twice to the Cavs. You wanted to kind of win one of these games against a competitive team, and it was a competitive game. Kind of one you felt like the Celtics could have maybe possibly put away. They didn't. Let them hang around there. Vucevic there just kept knocking down threes and keeping it close. DeRozan. The DeRozan foul stuff was friggin' obscene tonight.
Yeah,
but anyway, it is what it is. But big game. Two things stood out to me. I got two headlines. Number one, well, let me see what the final tally was because I don't want to jump the gun.
It was a gap. It was a gap.
No. At first, the Celtics only attempted 12 threes to start. So there was clearly a bit of an emphasis on not because, jacking as many threes as they were. They have among the fewest points in the paint, in the NBA. I think they were bottom 3, bottom 2. And they ended up with 31. It's still below their average of 40. They didn't shoot it well. Tatum didn't shoot it well at all. But they got to the free throw line 39 times, and 20 of them for Tatum. So despite the fact that he was really cold from 3 and from really everywhere, he got to the line a ton. He's the only starter in plus territory. The other thing that stood out for me was who was closing the game for the Celtics. Marcus Smart came in for defensive purposes, and yes, he picked up his 5th foul with 6.5 minutes to go, but it was Brogdon and White that were there down the stretch, for better or for worse, because the Celtics kind of let a lead slip away there a little bit.
I know what you're getting at.
I'm just saying that's a thing people wondered if it would be okay to do, meaning does Joe have the balls to be able to tell Marcus, I'm going with these guys. Brogdon was clearly the hot hand. Taking him out of the game, I think, would have been silly. He was one of the guys that kept helping getting the ball into the paint, the way he was finishing, just the way he can, kind of work the angles and get his shot off around the rim there. It's just invaluable. And he did it. And then Smart came in, and to his credit, made a couple of winning plays there, keeping a ball alive on the offensive rebound where Tatum ended up with it. Right. He made some big plays in the minute or so that he got to close in there. It was just interesting that they did that.
Yeah, I noticed that too, John. I thought that was really interesting because you can't help but think about the last game, right? The shot that the one attempt that everyone was talking about about Marcus Smart was the one that a lot of people think may have cost him the game. So, I mean, I don't think that's the reason that Joe Mazzulla went with that lineup to end the game. I think he was just feeling out what was best for the team in that situation. And the way Malcolm Brogdon was playing, I think that was a no-brainer. But then the Derek White part of it, I think he wants to build more confidence in Derek White. I thought Derek White, played a decent game, played an okay game. But when it comes to knocking down those shots, like you talked about it, right? He's got to knock down shots. I think he wanted to give him a spot there to see if he could build more confidence because he knocked down a few of those today. And I thought that, look, to his credit, that's not an easy call to make. Most coaches, they stick with Marcus and Brogdon probably to finish the game.
And I understand it. I understand he had 5 fouls, and I mentioned that. So it's not we're not ignoring it. But a player gets his 5th foul with 6 minutes to go. There's not much more you can save him for at that point. If you wanted to, you pull him for a couple minutes and you let him finish out the last 3 or 4, but that's not what happened. He didn't come back in until they wanted to go offense-defense, which is interesting because that's kind of what you wanted there. You got Brogdon running the point, White playing off the ball, and Marcus came in for defensive purposes only on that position where they like to kind of start him off on Vucevic. They have him start on the big there, and that's what he kind of did. But he came up big in the minute plus that he came back. But I'm not ignoring the fact that he had 5 fouls. I just think it's interesting that they did say we might offense-defense this thing instead of just saying Marcus is our guy.
Right, which I think most coaches would have done, even if he does have 5 fouls. They're thinking, well, look, we're here to close this game out. And you have to credit, obviously, the Chicago Bulls for hanging around because they did it all game. But with that being said, the Celtics they showed a lot of discipline. You know, they didn't resort to chucking threes like you talked about. You can tell that the clear game plan was to attack and look for the open shot, and they did that. But they also survived a big push from the Bulls that seemed like they weren't going away. They were always like a couple of a couple of plays behind, and the Celtics showed a lot of discipline in making sure that they protected that lead, and they did. It slipped away at some parts, but in that fourth quarter, I thought they were really dominant.
Yep. Sherrod Blakely joining here from the Garden, a noisy Garden. Oh my God, guys! I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. We might have to relocate you. But Sherrod, we were talking a little bit here about the closing lineup, and yes, Marcus Smart had 5 fouls, but they went with Brogdon and White again for better for worse. Some of that lead slipped away, but Brogdon was playing really, really well. It's just something we talked about whether they would ever do is get away from Marcus, whether Joe kind of would allow himself to do that, and he did. He stayed with the hot hands. Derek White didn't have a great offensive game, but he had 2 key buckets there down the stretch, and Brogdon was immense, probably outside of Tatum, most important person on the floor for the Celtics tonight. And then Marcus came in on an offense-defense situation when they needed it, which, again, is smart, and it's good coaching, and play the hot hand. I just didn't know whether or not Joe would do that, and he did.
I think this is part of Joe's evolution into being an NBA head coach, figuring out what you need to do in the moment and not playing the what-if game afterwards. I thought it was great strategy that when you look at the way that Brogdon was playing, and I thought that in this particular game, Derek White, I think, was a better fit for them by and large down the stretch than Marcus was. Now, it could be very well be different in the next game out where Derek White's on the bench or Malcolm's on the bench. But the point is, Joe was starting to figure out how to utilize his lineup in the most effective way, and that again, that's part of his evolution into being an NBA head coach.
Yes, and I don't think that I don't think there's any reason to start the Brogdon's got to start, drum. I love him with that second unit because what happened tonight? The other big story of the game is the second unit is what won that game. That unit with Brogdon, Tatum, Hauser. God, I can't believe I'm going to say it. Kornet.
This was Kornet's great. This was his best game as a Celtic. Give it up to Luke Kornet. He actually contributed in a positive way at both ends of the floor, I thought. And then again, you got to give it up to him. He made the most of his minutes in this particular game. So absolutely kudos. I think Bobby's running somewhere around here, running a victory lap or two for Luke's game. I haven't seen him in a while, but
the bench unit with those guys, with Grant and one of the starters, it was Tatum mainly, I believe. That's the difference. If every single Celtic starter was a minus tonight, except for Tatum, and I think that's because he was running with those twos there, and they played extremely well. So I mean, the bench stats, that's it, man. 44, 41 points. I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, dare we say phenomenal? We say it? Even on mute, we say it.
I don't know if it was phenomenal. It was very good. Very good. I don't think it was phenomenal. Because the Celtics, they came into this game, their second unit average is about 33 points a game, which is like 17th in the league. But they only give up, I think, around 20 or so points. They have one of, if not the best, bench scoring defense in the league. So their margin in terms of point differential is pretty high. But obviously today was a little bit more than normal. Bottom line is, John, to your point, the second unit was they were the ones that got him this victory. I don't even think it's even debatable.
Right. And so that was big. I mean, Tatum being Tatum, taking the ball to the rim, drawing a ton of fouls. It was super important. And Sherrod, something we mentioned early, the 31 threes, they only had 12 in the first half. They averaged 40. I don't know whether that was a point of emphasis. I don't know whether Joe talked about that before the game. I wasn't there. But I felt like it was something that they decided, we're jacking a ton of threes right now. We might be getting a little bit lazy. We might have to get away from that a bit because they got away from it a little bit, certainly in the first half. And, they shot about their average in that second half. But, they got to the line. They got to the line a ton, 39 free throw attempts. I lost you. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's coming back. There he is. Which was big, big. So I don't know if that's something that they did on purpose, but it worked. Which person wants to unmute their crazy bull gang stuff right now?
I thought Josue was chatting with you. Sorry about that. No, the fact that they're figuring out ways to win and not relying on the same blueprint to do it, I think is a major positive and sign of growth for these guys. They need to do this if they're going to have any kind of season similar to what they had a year ago.
Yeah, no doubt. Is it less loud where you are, Josue? Why don't you talk a little bit? You got to get it off mute, though.
That would help, Josue. That would help.
You know when you mute somebody, I can't unmute that, right? Like
I
have
unmuted
the power.
you.
No, you didn't. I tried to talk like 7 minutes ago, but anyways, yeah. Look, I think that was clearly a point of emphasis, and it's not because of you guys shoot too many threes. I think it was just the result of coming off of a loss, like especially overtime loss. One that they could have that slipped through their fingers essentially. So I thought they went back to the fundamentals, like Joe likes to always talk about, right? The fundamentals and executing, which has been a point of emphasis he's been talking about since day one. So I think the Celtics did a really good job of doing that. They didn't go outside of the game plan, and they stuck with it. The Bulls hung around. They made trips to the free throw line. Obviously, Jayson Tatum had a lot to do with that. But I think also the execution is the result of that as well. Like that's a result of these guys showing a lot of poise out there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The other thing I wanted to mention is the Hauser. We talked about the minutes, right? And like I think he's essential because of what he can do and he can shoot and all of those things. But what I do believe is something we can't ignore is he does not look lost on defense. And in fact, he actually made a couple of decent defensive plays. I thought he a couple times he actually manned up Levine and made him take a difficult shot. He is not an obvious liability. I guess if that's, one way to put it, he's holding his own, which is as much as you could have hoped for. And this is what kind of bugs me about the narrative behind why he couldn't play last year, because so many of us are sitting there screaming, why don't you play the guy who basically is an 80% shooter from three? Like you're dying for shooting, my goodness. And we were led to believe that if you put him out there on defense, like the world would come to an end, like people's faces would melt and like everything would go horribly wrong. You can't play this guy. Defense. Oh, Ime's system. He can't be out there. Switch. Well, you know what? It's fine. He's okay. He's fine out there, and he hits shots, and that's what you need sometimes. It's okay. Not everybody has to be a lockdown defender to be able to play in Boston. I don't know why this myth exists that like, well, he can't defend. Shooting is important. Sometimes having guys and specialists who just do one thing is valuable, and he does it really well, and he's not killing himself on defense.
I think one of the problems, John, last year was I don't think he was confident enough in himself that he could hold his own defensively. I think that was his biggest issue out there. He didn't. Wow, look at that little photo bomb in there. I'm not even going to say his name.
Did the Celtics authorize that? I don't know if that's allowed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know.
The fans know who that was.
But no, I don't know if he was confident enough, John, to be out there and not crapping his pants when he got out there defensively. This year, there's no question about it. He feels he belongs, and he doesn't have to make shots to stay out there. The way that he's moving, and as you pointed out, John, defensively, I think he's more than held his own out there.
Facts, dog. I totally agree. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys.
All right. Program note. I think they're done with the chairs, so we're good.
No
more noise in the background.
Yes, I love that. So that was terrific. I don't want to get into necessarily like what's not working right now, but I'll get into a little. I thought Jalen had another rough game tonight. Defensively, he's having a really tough game, and he's just driving to nowhere more often than he used to. More than you want to see. He seemed much more in control in the preseason, and more, just kind of in command of what he was trying to do offensively. And last few games in the regular season, he looks like he's kind of trying too hard or just searching for it or forcing the issue, kind of driving, without much of a purpose. That being said, he also finishes a lot, and he does get where he wants to go, and that's something that they need. But it's always that kind of give and take with Jalen, which is he has to play super, super fast in order to kind of get where he wants to go. But when he plays super fast, he's sometimes out of control, doesn't really know where he is, gets up in the air and gets himself in trouble. So I felt like he kind of forced a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. I actually sat next to Sherrod during the game, and I pointed that out to him. I said, man, when he does that he doesn't even have a play in mind. It seems like when he jumps in the air, and then he turns and looks like, who can I throw this off to? Like, it's just, that's not going to work. And now it's getting to the point where teams are ready for that. They know that. Like, they game plan for Jalen as well as Tatum, and I think he's got to be a lot more decisive on those possessions. He can't just go in there and hope that the referee bails him out, or that he makes like a tough-handed layup, a tough left-handed layup sometimes, and when it doesn't happen that way, it usually results in a turnover. So
and I know he was sick, but like the other thing you can do when you're sick is like take it easy. You don't have to go bananas out there. It's just a matter of control. It just felt like he was lacking it a little bit tonight. So just something I wanted to kind of sort of keep an eye on with him. Because, the big predictions, everybody was like, this is the year he steps up to the Tatum level. This is the year he possibly surpasses Tatum, it's actually
we really jumped the gun on that one. Huh?
Well, it's gone in the other direction because Tatum's playing some of his best ball, ever, really, just to start a season right now. Right. Let's talk about Tatum. What did you like tonight, Sherrod?
I love the fact that Tatum, even though he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, he was finding other ways to step up and contribute. Another double for him. Did a good job, I thought, of finding his teammates. I think he had like 6 assists. And to me, that's what the superstars of the NBA are able to do. They're able to have crappy nights shooting the ball, but still put their imprint on the game. And again, I thought he did that not only in terms of his points when they needed him, but also with his overall presence at both ends of the floor. Because Tatum is evolving into a really, really impactful defender. Came into this game averaging like 1.4 blocks a game, and they're going to need that type of double two-way play in Tatum in order to win. You love top 5 Tatum, but two-way Tatum is even better.
Well, that's the thing.
That's the best Tatum right there.
We talked about it last year, and this is something I always said. I never understood Tatum's bad games because the best players, their bad games are like 8 for 24, but they still find a way to get 26 points, 27 points, and 9 rebounds, blah, 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 this and that. Yeah, but Tatum just had too many of those, like, 2 for, I mean, just
3 for 17. Yeah.
And just kind of like completely disappear. Which I never really fully understood, but this was one of those where he didn't shoot well, but he got to the line. He got an insane amount of rebounds, and he was passing the ball really well. So again, it was a all around. These should be Jayson Tatum's off nights. Games like this, where last year his off nights he was borderline a detriment to the team. He had those bad shooting nights. It affected every aspect of his game. That wasn't the case tonight. And to his credit, I will say I'm seeing way less. And you guys are there, so you can track it better. Way less like shoulder slump after a miss sort of stuff. Yeah. Way less like just kind of slow to get back up the court. I'm not seeing that at all this year.
Yeah, well, this game in particular, I didn't see any. I don't know, Sherrod, maybe I missed a couple, but I didn't see much him complaining to the referees and shrugging off calls. If anything, he was frustrated with himself when he missed a couple of layups, even though someone, I think Jalen got a putback, but he was a little harder on himself. But I just think it's a sign of him maturing as a player. Honestly, the way he's reading the defense now, the way he's not panicking to quick jump shots or trying to take matters to his own hands. He's just reading the flow of the defense, it seems like. And especially in this game against the Chicago Bulls, where, again, this team wasn't going away. I feel like the old Tatum would have resorted to, okay, I got to hit a couple threes here to get us out of this, And you also have to credit the second unit, which you talked about as well, like the bench. Malcolm Brogdon, man, I don't think they win without him. I mean, he was almost equally as important as Tatum, but again, with the way he's reading the defense, I think that's how he was able to get to the free throw line and absorb that contact and knew exactly which lanes to find teammates and also which lanes to attack.
Michael put it out here in the super chat. Thank you very much, Michael. But the Brogdon, should he start? Again, we kind of addressed this a little earlier.
The bench needs him.
My general thought, and I think Josue's thought here is he's so good with that bench unit, and the bench unit is the reason you won today. But again, closing lineups, what you do there, I think that's totally in play, in terms of you should play the hot hand. And I think tonight was that case where Brogdon was playing well. Yes, Smart drew his 5th foul, but he had to stay in the game. And if he didn't, that would have been a mistake. I think it was really the right call by Joe. And I think it's just something you have to, fully consider going forward, is just playing that hot hand and not worrying necessarily about whose feelings you might hurt or whatever. But we really do like him a ton. I do think coming off of the bench there, because just the way he's able to control it. I mean, how bad was that last year? You just see when the starters would go out. You'd look at those units on the floor, Josue, and be like, where are the points coming from? Best thing about Brogdon isn't just he's able to handle the basketball, is he just scores on his own. I mean, we have more guys. There's more guys on the team this year who can get the ball to the basket than there have been in a while, just with Jalen, Tatum's commitment to it. And then Brogdon's the best of all of them, I think. Just his body control, the way he uses, the defender's leverage against them. He's just great at it. So his ability to create offense. And again, this goes back to what we talked about with Marcus a lot last year. Playmaking is more than just passing. Playmaking is your ability to make all sorts of plays. And Brogdon just makes lots of plays because he can do so many things. He can get to the basket. How many times did he get that little fake the drive, jab step, short pull up? That's money. You had one on the baseline. That's great. He can shoot the three. He's an offensive threat, somebody you have to account for to score from anywhere on the court. In addition to the fact that, and he's got a very tight handle, in addition to the fact that he can, work as a distributor as well. It's just something they haven't really had.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what I said, a couple days ago. It's like Brogdon can score 20 plus every night if he wants to, but I just think what his job is right now is just to enhance the offense. At any given moment when he checks into the game, give them instant energy, but also make sure that everyone's on the same page. And I think that he did that. He did that in a big way in this game against the Bulls, man. You got, DeRozan flirting with the 50 piece. You got, guys getting into their groove. The Bulls got into that 8-0 run, and he just calms things down, whether it's him scoring. And again, he's reading the defense. It's almost as if he's seeing things 2 steps ahead. Like he knows what the Bulls are going to do, or at least he's reading things a different way that it seems like for the rest of the unit, and he's leading them. I just think that stuff is contagious, and especially with guys who have been on this team. If they were here last year, they've been through it, and you plug them in there with Grant Williams and other guys, Sam Hauser. I just feel like he's continuing to develop as a shooter. He's going to continue to get more confident, and these are guys that are going to essentially lead this bench unit. Especially those 3 guys. When you look at the rest of the bench, it really thins out after that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about that last season a lot, just how thin this bench truly is. Well, I mean, credit to Grant. He's off to a good start, especially what he's doing on the outside shot, and there's other stuff that I want him to get better at. But for the most part, he's been solid. And the addition of Brogdon, it's just it pushes this team to a different level, especially against top tier talent like the Bulls or any other team.
People always make this an anti-Smart thing, and it's not. If you say nice things about other people, is not a referendum on Smart. The issue, not the issue with Smart, the narrative around Marcus Smart was always, Marcus Smart does a lot of things well. Marcus Smart is not a perfect basketball player. There are certain situations where a person who had a different set of skills than Marcus Smart would be beneficial to the Celtics. People get so triggered if you point out what Marcus is not. We know what he's not. The point being is you want Marcus to be the thing that he is as much as possible and not try to be something else. He was an absolutely capable, point guard for the team last year, but it doesn't mean he's the end-all be-all, and it doesn't mean other people can't bring other things to the table. The Celtics saw this as a need. They immediately addressed it. They went and they got a playmaking point guard, a more offensive-minded point guard, just so that person can do that, and then Marcus can be winning plays Marcus, which is what you want him to be. Okay, I'm not saying he's miscast as point guard, but is it really offensive to Marcus Smart to say he's not a terrific shooter? He's not a person who can create his own offense? No, it's a fact, and it's okay. But when Marcus does Marcus things, that's great. You get why can't everybody be part of this? It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Well, every player has. No, I was just going to say every player has some flaw, something about their game that is not great, and Marcus is no exception to that. The thing that you got to, think about it. Malcolm Brogdon had a great game offensively, but if you need a stop at the very end of the game, are you going to look at him or are you going to look for Marcus to make that play? You're going to look for Marcus, and that doesn't mean Brogdon's a bad defender. It just means that Marcus's strength in that particular moment is greater than Malcolm's. Just like Malcolm, I think, is a more versatile scorer, which we saw. His ability to finish at the rim, his ability to run an offense, those are things that he's very good at. Marcus, not quite as good as Malcolm, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have significant value for this team.
Right, and what he does is, again, he enhances the offense. So when he came to when this trade went down with the Celtics, or the signing rather, I'm thinking he's going to help Marcus. He's going to make him better on that end of the floor. The defensive player of the year, obviously that's his strong side. But offensively, I'm like, man, he's going to make sure that he's, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, because obviously he's got respect for Malcolm Brogdon as a player, who he is. They're very similar in that regard, in the sense of what they do on defense. But also, I think that he was looking at it as, man, we needed a guy like that. This is only going to make us better. Let's be the best defending backcourt in the NBA. So I always looked at it that way, and looked at his Marcus, or Malcolm rather, coming off the bench, being that sixth man, but also someone that could really, put his fingerprint at the end of the game when the Celtics really just didn't have someone like that last year.
And tonight was it. And even the other night where, Bobby was kind of, not getting on him, but he mentioned he had a rough third quarter. He missed some shots at the rim. I like that he's still getting to the rim. That's the thing. That's just what he does. He's consistent in his game. He knows what he does. He always plays within himself. He knows what he does well, and he does it extremely well. And Josue, like you said, he absolutely could shoot. He could score 20-plus points a game if he wanted to. It's just not a thing that's necessarily required of him on this team. But if Tatum or Brown missed a spell and Brogdon had to step up, you don't think he'd average 25 points during one of those guys' absence because it was at him? Of course he
totally would. He totally would. He totally would. And let's be real. That's a luxury they did not have last year. They didn't have a guy that they could just throw out there knowing that he could easily be a 20, 25-point scorer if given an opportunity to play significant minutes. And I give Malcolm a lot of credit for embracing his role, because if let me think about it. You can average 20 points in this league, and yet they don't really need that from you. They need you to contribute whenever your opportunity presents itself. And I give Malcolm a lot of credit. He does not force the action. He does not seem as though he's trying to get numbers or trying to, put his imprint on the team. He's just balling. That's all he's doing. He's just balling.
And that's what happens is you get to that age right around now, and you're like, 29, 30, and you've been in the league for a while, and you
got no championships to show for your damn
you got
time.
Nothing, and you're just like, I'll do whatever. At that point, you start to think, I don't know if it's coming ever. I gotta latch on to the right team and the right situation here, and I'll do whatever they want, and that's fine, which is great. And that's what you want. That's what you want. If you have a team like the Celtics that made it to the finals, that's who you want to bring in here. This obsession with the Beals and the third superstar and this and that. Like, you really want a guy to come in here who wants to get his buckets. You just want a guy who wants to come in here and be like, just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll go do that. And
look at the situation with the Lakers right now, right? Like, they traded their chips, the big chips, for Anthony Davis, which obviously everyone can look at and say, okay, I understand why they did that. But the Russell Westbrook thing, it's like, went a little too far there. You don't have to have another big three just because that's the way LeBron wins his championships. I think that was a big part of it. But you look at everyone's role in this Celtics team, and what happened in the NBA Finals. Like we talked about this, right? We're like
breaking news.
There's going to be some guy. What you got?
The Arbella screen behind the Celtics press conference area, in the press room, just fell on Jayson Tatum.
Oh man.
Out for 2 to 4 weeks. Somebody's getting them.
Concussion protocol.
Oh man. I got to interview who put the step and repeat together. Let me go check. Let me go find out what's going on here.
Let's go to the video. The video.
I'll get it soon.
Someone's getting in trouble.
Our wonderful video producer Amit, the guy who holds CLNS together, he really does. he really does is there, and he reported from the press room right now. So yes, thank you.
But no, what I was saying was, I mean, right after Game 6, talking to Bobby right here on the floor, I'm like, man, this is someone's watching this game and thinking I can help those guys. I can be the missing piece that they need. And it was Malcolm Brogdon, and he was very open about that during the offseason, or at least after he was during the press conference saying he technically had a choice, and he said, man, I want to go to Boston. I like those guys. That's the team for me. Like that's the kind of a team I want to play for if I really want to win a championship at this stage of my career.
And we would like to send Aaron Nesmith to Indiana in order to get you. That's what we would like to do.
Oh, what a steal. Man, Danny Ainge looking at that deal just like, really, Indy? Really? That's Malcolm Brogdon.
Nesmith playing some minutes. He's doing his best.
And so's Romeo. Romeo's actually starting.
Romeo's been starting since the Primo incident.
Since the 3 or 4 guys ahead of him went down with injuries and they made a trade.
So they're really tanking down to San Antonio.
Went down with injuries.
I mean, when you got the greatest prospect since LeBron, on deck, Popovich is like, man, this is not a drill, guys. We've been through this before. Remember that guy Tim Duncan? Like we did this, so we can do this again.
Don't say drill around Popovich. He's still reminiscing about that 43-point ass whooping they took like last week.
It was like 2 days ago. Toronto just beat him by 43.
Was it like? Oh god, it felt so much longer than that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it's
be a
brutal.
Long season for Bob.
So anyway, like I said, I'm down with whatever rotations work. Throw ego aside. Brogdon was great tonight. It was interesting again. Some people might go as far as to say Smart was benched. It's not that, guys. Rob Williams is probably healthy, the third most important player on the team, and there's times when he's not in a closing lineup because it calls for something else. It's okay. Right. The best thing about having a versatile lineup with lots of different players is you get to mix and match. After Tatum and Brown, anybody can close, right? Theoretically, when you have the whole team out there, any combination of the remaining guys, that would include Grant, Derek White, Brogdon, all of those guys can be in a closing lineup depending on the situation, who's playing well, the matchups, and it would be okay. Absolutely would be okay. So it's not an indictment on any one person. It just is what it is. It's a good thing.
No, and I give Joe Mazzulla a lot of credit for just figuring it out and not just sticking to, the tried and true formula. He went with the guys who were getting it done down the stretch, and that's refreshing to see. Too many damn coaches pretend as if the hot hand doesn't exist, as if I've got to go back to this antiquated way that we played from the very beginning of the game, and that's what I need to close with. No, he actually played the lineup in the moment that was getting it done. And again, kudos to Joe Mazzulla for getting it done.
And kudos to Joe Mazzulla for calling a timeout to stop a run, which he did tonight. And Joe was not stingy with his timeouts, and I like that.
Called 2 really good ones.
Good ones.
And right out of the timeout, ATO, who was it? Malcolm Brogdon, straight to the rack.
Yep.
And one, and before he could shoot the free throw, Chicago called timeout right away.
Right away. Exactly. Good. No, we're taking a timeout.
Right. That's what timeouts do. You see, Joe? That's what timeouts do.
We are also going to take a timeout because we do want to tell you about one of our sponsors here at the Garden Report, Athletic Greens. That's called a segue, my friends.
Well done.
Smooth as
take notes, undergrads. Take notes.
Very smooth. AG1, we love it. We're all here, super fans of it at the Garden Report. If you don't have time, but you want to achieve a lot of different things, like, gut health, more energy, optimize your immune system. You don't like taking pills. You want a supplement that tastes great and kind of does it all at once. Bang, this is it for you. Again, why take a million different pills and supplements when you could just have one scoop of Athletic Greens and absorb 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients right into your belly. And that's it. You're done for the day. You take it in the morning and that's it. That's all you need to do. Diet friendly, virtually no sugar in it at all, widely supported by medical professionals around the world, thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews and testimonials. So again, time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system, convenient daily nutrition, 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements. So look out for your health. To make it easy, we are going to give you a little gift here at the Garden Report. Go to athleticgreens.com/garden, get a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do, as we said right there, is visit athleticgreens.com/garden. And again, if you're not sure you want to try it, ask around, see if anybody's done it, pop on the website, do a little reading on your own. It's worth it. It's worth checking out if it's something you were thinking of doing and you are interested in, taking care of your health and you really just don't know, like, should I take this? Should I take that? Should I take this combo? Again, you just don't have to think. That's the best part about it. We're all freaking busy. I don't want to do hours and hours of research on 50,000 different things I need to put into my body to get it right. 1 scoop of Athletic Greens and you're done. Trust me, that's all you need. Check it out. Guys, anything else left over from this game before we let Bobby come in and talk about Kornet for the last 20 minutes of the show?
That's great.
Let's let Bobby get this off because one time only.
Yeah, this is like our Nito stat of the night. Like
Bobby's coming in.
Celtics postgame show.
Bobby's coming in looking for an apology right out of the gate. He's going to be ornery tonight.
It's not happening. Yeah, it is not happening. Give me 10 points and then we can start talking about a damn apology, okay?
For real.
For real. No, Bobby's
get to double digits. Good job not getting. No, I shouldn't say that. Let me stop. I was gonna say good job not getting dunked on. I thought he was gonna get dunked on tonight,
and he
almost
was giving him the eye. Like, man, if you stay there 4 more seconds or so,
and he almost dunked. Really proud of him. He was right there under the rim, and he almost snuck it through. That was like the really tall guy who just kind of can't really jump and just kind of rolls it over the top of the rim. He got one of those tonight.
He's the dude at the Y. He's the
which
dude
is really good.
Pickup game.
All right, Bobby's coming in hot in 2 seconds here, and I'll give him the floor. Hold on 1 second. Bobby Manning, ladies and gentlemen.
Luke played a good game, though.
Yeah, Luke played it. We saved it for you, Bobby. We saved it for you.
I shouldn't talk about it.
This is all.
We're not even going to mention Alex Caruso.
If you say the words Luke Kornet and phenomenal in one sentence, I'm off the show.
No, how about
you're right, Sherrod. You got him. That counts. Yes. Guys, look at the tape. Caruso got him. So technically he did get
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that was on Brogdon. Brogdon was standing in the dust. But anyway. As
soon as we said that, Bobby goes, that was on Brogdon. Remember, Sherrod?
He was ready for that. Sure. He was ready for that.
So defensive.
Go ahead, Bob. The floor is
yours.
yours. Talk to us about Luke. He was awesome. He was amazing.
He was rock solid. It wasn't just about Luke. It was the fact that you could play Luke, Hauser, Grant, Brogdon together with that whole bench unit for 9 straight minutes and feel good about it. Now, you bump up Tatum's minutes in this one. He plays with them, and that helps. But they survive without Brown on the floor, without Horford, without Smart, White, all the different starters. And they look like a deep, versatile team that can match up with a really good Bulls bench. I would say the Bulls probably have one of the 5-10 best benches in the league. You got your Derek Jones and your Caruso and all the different other guys they bring off there. So that was great. You'll be able to scale down on some guys' minutes with that group, I think. You got good performances out of all of them. Hauser's 12 for 21 from 3 now this season. So that shooting's real. He's surviving out there. You've talked about that, John. Like, he doesn't get killed out there.
Not only that, he actually made a couple good plays tonight. He's fine. He's not
pass
killing
to Kornet. Yeah, good
no, but even defensively, he forced Levine into a couple of tough shots. He doesn't lose his place. He's not getting blown by. He's there. He's competitive. That's the most you're going to ask for from him. He's competitive on defense, and he's not in bad position. So he's absolutely hanging in there, which is great.
His defense is kind of like officiating. His defense is kind of like officiating. The less you talk about it, the better job he did. And when we talk about Hauser, we hardly ever mention his defense other than the fact that he played solid defense. We don't talk about the mistakes or him getting beat because, as John pointed out, not only does he compete, but again, you don't realize that some of the shortcomings that we were led to believe he has defensively ever existed. We just don't see them. We just don't see them.
It's not. And again, he's physically limited. He's not the most athletic guy. He's going to struggle with quicker guys. But again, he hung in there tonight, and he has, as Bobby said, it's real, man. I mean, this guy, I fully expect him to shoot mid-40s for 3 for the season. That's just the type of shooter he is. That's what he won't get the volume because he's not going to get the minutes, but this is a guy who's going to knock down a ridiculously high percentage of his 3-point shots, and his release is quick, and he got him off. What I was concerned with, especially we watched some summer league, and it looked like if he didn't have all the space in the world in a couple of those games, he couldn't get that shot off. I'm actually impressed how quickly he's able to get it off with a little bit of a contest. He shot that one over Levine with a hand right in his face, and he's shooting it confidently. You saw him hit the side of the backboard a couple times in Vegas when it looked like people were kind of charging at him and he didn't have a clean look. So that's a big thing too that we didn't think he did or that he could do. Be able to get it off quickly and cleanly with a little bit of resistance.
Yeah, you know what? It's crisp. It is, and I think a lot of that has to do with his footwork. He's worked on it. He's worked on his angles. He's worked on how to get behind screens, how to release, in a timely manner, and he's been just honestly progressing, right before our eyes. And it's not going to be, one of those games where he's dropped 20 or something, but he's going to little by little, he's getting there. He's getting to the point where he's already shown the comfort in this position, in this role. So it's just all about the reps, and until he can get to a certain point where he's rock solid in that rotation and getting his consistent 14, 15 minutes, and then it's like, look out, he can just continue to progress from there.
I'm super impressed by what this bench has done so far this year. Plus 19 for their bench is 5th in the league. I believe they have the highest field goal percentage, 52% from their bench, highest 3-point percentage, 48% from their bench. They're average in scoring, but that's what when you have a great starting lineup like this team does, and one of the better teams like this group does, that's all you're looking for, right? Is a bench that's in the middle of the pack that can compete, that can pace leads. Second half, I thought it dropped off a little bit. I think they lost those minutes when that group came in the second half, but they really did go on a nice run. I think it was +8 over those 9 minutes with Kornet, Hauser, Williams, Brogdon, and Tatum. And, we're burying the lead there. This is all about Brogdon, setting guys up, getting guys touches in different spots, attacking one-on-one tonight. This is as aggressive as he's looked. So you see the scoring side of him finally. 3 and 1s, 4 assists, some defensive plays, a few turnovers, but he made up for them. Just great stuff from him. This is exactly what you imagine the peak of his impact looking like.
So, just so you're caught up on it, what we spent a lot of time on was not only Brogdon's play, Bobby, but the fact that, and again, we understand that Smart got his 5th foul with 6:23 to go, but that closing lineup was Brogdon and White in the backcourt, with White playing off the ball and Brogdon running the point, and Smart came in for defensive purposes after the Celtics had gotten that lead up, which is interesting because we didn't know if Joe would be able to do that, and we've talked about it. It's not a Smart benching. It's just Joe playing the lineup he thought he needed to have out there on the court at that time, and then mixing and matching down the stretch where he brought Marcus in for some defense. He made a couple of big plays, but I liked to see that out of Joe.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a good chance to try that, right? It's not, as you said, the foul trouble can be used as a cover there. Because I think that is it's not only a tough coaching decision that you have to navigate there. Like, I think it's going to be tough for all of us to look at it and be like, Smart's got to sit down in those spots. Like, you just kind of
at the end of the bench too. And I don't know how happy he was, but he was whatever, he did.
And this is what I've been thinking about this obviously it was the first thing you thought about when they acquired him. But I think it's been in the back of all of our heads, right? The fact that there could be nights, there could be a stretch this season. Who knows how long it'll be where Brogdon might be the better option in a game, in a stretch of games. And, White's giving you big plays too down the stretch, the huge three, the charge take on DeRozan. So all of a sudden, Smart might be like your third best guy out of those three, and there might not be room for him in that closing lineup. And again, you have that cover here of the foul trouble, but you got a really good look at that group and that collective, and they played strong.
It depends, right? Again, it's just an offense-defense scenario. The good thing is Brogdon doesn't hurt you defensively, but if you're in a tight game and you need buckets, it's hard to keep Brogdon on the floor, off the floor.
And that's something you can do, right? You can go offense, defense in those situations. They didn't do it tonight, but they could be a game where
they pulled out the reason they went defense is they pulled out White because they wanted to play Smart on a big. Obviously, you have capable defenders both with White and Brogdon, so you're not worried. It's not pulling Isaiah Thomas off the floor. You're okay with those guys. They just wanted Smart's physicality in there because the Bulls were a little bit bigger, and that's how they were playing that. But you could live with the other guards in there and hold your own defensively against most teams.
Yeah, and that's, you talk about that White-Smart trade-off. That's the great compromise you can make here is the fact that White's amicable probably as any of those three guys in terms of sitting late in the game, and you probably aren't dreading him not being out there because you get so much defense from Smart, you get so much offense from Brogdon, and White's sort of in between those two overall and gives them quality starting minutes. I didn't think White was great in this one, so that worked out. He made some big plays late. I didn't think Brown and White had the best games. I put them, wrote for BSJ tonight in the 2 down category. I put Brown and White in there.
Brown was down, my man. He was down tonight.
But they connect on one of the bigger shots of the game. So credit to that. Credit to finishing strong. This whole group, and I'm sure you guys talked about it for 20 minutes, but that sequence with Smart getting the hand on the ball, Tatum grabbing it and going up for the free throws, with a 2-point lead there. It's championship level stuff. And the sort of hustle plays and the sort of intensity you're seeing from Tatum, not only to close that Cleveland game on Wednesday, but here and in other moments early this season, it's the kind of thing that's going to get him in the MVP conversation. Just massive numbers, but also massive impact while he's out there in a bunch of different areas, passing, rebounding, defense. And why are the Bulls going to Patrick Williams in crunch time? That was crazy. Big bailout, but Tatum got in there and made a play.
Patrick Williams was huge for the Celtics tonight.
6 fouls, 2 huge misses with the game on the line.
Yeah.
And Tatum missed a free throw.
He did.
Tatum did miss a free throw that opened up the opportunity for the Bulls there. After 46 points, they couldn't find DeRozan on that play.
Brogdon missed 2 free throws tonight. That doesn't happen.
No, but you rack up 39 and you take 32.
Yeah. Yeah, we liked it.
This is also an example of how tough the East is going to be. Look at these challenges so far. I even think you've seen the best of the East, and you've seen.
Are you on delay, Bobby? You stopped talking? Everything all right?
He just stopped.
Oh yeah, I was saying Chicago, these 2 games against them thrillers. And that's the middle of the conference, right? And then I think Cleveland's up in the top tier, but they've given you really tough games so far. You haven't seen Milwaukee. You haven't seen Toronto. This conference is stacked. You haven't seen Atlanta, Philadelphia. I think we've seen them at their best. This is a stacked conference, and these are the kind of games Celtics are going to be in and night out. So it's good that they're going to be able to stagger their lineups, give some guys some breaks on certain nights. I feel like Horford's getting better too. To start this game, I thought he was fantastic. Had some moments throughout, so it looks like he's finding his footing. Brogdon, I don't think we've even seen him at his most comfortable here. So to see this team starting to point in the right direction here, at least offensively, encouraging. Defensively, I don't know where you guys at on that.
They're not there yet. They're still not there yet. I mean, they still rank in the bottom 10, bottom 12, 13 in almost every significant defensive category. And this team, that's just not who they are. You're not going to win a championship not being a better team defensively. Now, obviously, not having Rob Williams is a big part of that. And certainly you anticipate they'll be better. But in the meantime, you know, they need the Tatums, the Browns, the Horfords to really step their game up defensively, as well as Marcus Smart, who I think has been, you know, he's been kind of up and down, I thought, defensively this year. There have been nights where he's been exceptional and other nights where he's just been just bad. And they need him to get be a little bit more consistent with his impact at that end of the floor, because that's why he's here. That's his job.
That's what's a little frustrating is this has the feeling of one of those, like, you know, the way they're playing defense right now was last year when you hear press conferences where they'd say things like, we need to get better. It's like, yeah, what are we talking about here? You know, like, it's like, you know,
I remember you talking about this.
No, but I hate that. Like, you know, like right now, like, I think Jalen's been awful on defense, and I think Marcus is not having as good a year. I think he's making some plays, but he's not having the same.
I think Horford can be too.
I think Horford is also, again, he's playing way too many minutes. But
he needs help. Come on,
look,
he needs help.
It's not like five. It's not one right now. You know, whatever was going on. You know, what's stronger, 5 or 1? You know, right now you're just not getting the same thing you were getting last year when they were connected and playing as that unit, and everything was working off it. And I don't want to put it all on Rob, but yes, you're lacking in interior presence. But individually, I'm seeing guys take too many possessions off that they just didn't really do last year. So what I'll also say is, they're the frigging Eastern Conference champions. They're smart. They understand early season basketball is not where you make your bones. They know it's an 80-something game season, and I understand the concept of saving yourself a little bit. Did we really expect, let's be realistic, they're not playing well defensively right now. Did we really expect 82 games plus an entire playoff run of the same level of defensive intensity we saw during the second half of last year? I think that's unrealistic.
No, right, you don't expect that level.
They're human, but I mean, when your best players are required to, yeah.
I was just gonna say, you didn't expect them to average 117, give up 117 to 120 points a night.
Dude, look at Golden State. They're playing awful.
They're terrible right now.
Awful defense right now. Awful. Okay, these are the top 2 defenses in the league last year. Yes, you're missing Rob, but like Golden State's not suffering for personnel. They're dreadful right now. Again, part of it is just simply like, I'll get there when I get there. The problem with the Celtics when they behaved that way before, it was like, but will you? You know, like, you know, I'm not convinced you will because you haven't proven everything. It's like Tristan Thompson from a couple of years. We've got bigger things in mind. That's why we've been playing like, shut up. You know, you haven't done anything. But these guys have done something. And they have shown that they can flip a switch. And when they do, they're pretty freaking nasty. So if they're resting on their laurels a little bit right now, early in the year, I actually do think that that's excusable. I think it's a little insane to expect them to be able to play that level of defense with your best players playing 37, 38 minutes a night and pull that off. I think it's asking a lot.
Especially while you're trying some new schemes, you're focused on offense for most of camp as they were, and you're seeing these sort of results on the offensive end. I mean, we've all been astounded by the offense to start this year, and it's been pretty consistent through 8 games, ranking up in that top 5-10 area. So that's what they needed. That's what we weren't sure if they were going to be able to accomplish this season, even with the Brogdon addition. And they're seeing immediate returns there, which is super encouraging because we know they can defend at the highest level, particularly when Rob gets back. I don't love them hanging on that excuse. And that's something you keep hearing generally from them. Even Horford this morning was talking about how differently they're defending with Rob out and how different his role is. And I think they keep going back to that. So we know this team can defend without Rob at a high level. We saw it in the playoffs last year. He was out there, but he wasn't quite himself. And then there was the Brooklyn series where he really wasn't out there at all for most of that series. So we know that this group has a higher ceiling on that end. We know that they have these great wings, these dynamic guards, and even a good bench unit that I think provides some quality defense. You don't see many weak links on this defense.
You
and so
don't.
how much of it is it effort and how much of it is scheme? Because I do see them starting to shift away from the scheme that they were starting the year with.
And I agree with what you said. I do think, I mean, they're not switching as much because again, I do think what you said there, they don't want Horford roaming all over the court. They're not playing double big, so they don't have somebody back there to clean it up. So they are playing a lot more drop. They're staying home a little bit more. I think a lot of it is just simply, it's both. I think it's a little bit of scheme, more emphasis on offense. And part of it is you're just not getting the same level of defensive intensity from some of your key players that you were last year, namely, I think Brown and Smart right now, if you're going to call it out. I think Tatum actually is for the most part.
Tatum's been awesome. 3 blocks on Wednesday, some big plays tonight.
I think Tatum has been giving max effort on both ends all year. And I think, luckily it's going okay for them right now, because I think there'd be reason for Tatum to look around the room and get a little frustrated that it's not necessarily being reciprocated by everyone out there. And Marcus is a slow start guy. We've seen this a million times before. I'm not I'm not trying to get super on him, but I really do think you see him a lot, even physically. He always comes in kind of looking okay to start the season training camp, and I swear by December, January, his body looks totally different.
John's always on body watch.
But I've told you every year Marcus looks a little, I'm like, does he look a little? And then he just kind of tightens up, pulls it together, and then he's just an animal after that. So I don't know if this is one of those years where it's just kind of a slow ramp up, but what are
you seeing from him, Sherrod?
Inconsistency. There are stretches where he looks amazingly awesome and just like the guy that we've known all these years, and other times where you're just scratching your head. There was a sequence in this game where he drove to the basket and thought he got fouled, and he didn't get back. And he was lucky that Caruso also didn't go down the court. And so, but that's not what we're used to seeing from him. We're used to seeing him deal with things, move on quickly, and just lock in defensively. And I just think that there's been more of not that Marcus Smart than we're used to. And again, it could be the fact that, as Al Horford has pointed out, I think he pointed it out the other day, and him and I had a conversation about it last week, where not having Rob has forced them all to not have that blanket, if you will, where you can make a mistake and it's not going to crush you because you got Rob. You don't have that anymore. So there's a greater amount of accountability on the group as a whole defensively. And I think they've been kind of up and down in meeting that challenge. And that includes the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart.
Yeah, offensively, I think he leaves some production to be desired early this year, too. Obviously, the shooting percentages. We talked about the shot on Wednesday in overtime. Tough mental mistake for him to make in that spot. But you also have those good moments, too. The 2 baskets late in the fourth quarter to help force overtime. That pass to Tatum on the final play that set up his dunk. And it was a similar thing tonight. Missing layups early. Finishing some key passing sequences to end the first half. He had that nice stop and transition to begin the second half. And, there were some moments through this game where you really thought he was going to get it going. Tatum throwing that outlet to him, throwing down the dunk, and then they're pounding chest. But he really didn't do too much from that outside of a 3 late. A couple more misses to close the game. And, you're right, Sherrod. Inconsistent is the exact right word to use with him. Like, he's showing flashes of what he did last season, and then other places he's making key mistakes. Again, he's not on the floor to end this game for the most part as they're going on that great closing run.
Yeah, and the numbers, you look at his shooting numbers for the game, he was 5 for 10 with 12 points, which on paper looks good.
Yes.
But I don't think he had a good game offensively. He's had better games than this, even if the numbers maybe not suggest that. There's just a lot. There's just a lot of learning that still has to go with this team to figure out what they need to do, and them doing it consistently. Because you can't play up and down like this and expect to be the last team standing in the East. Just not going to work.
I wrote on Wednesday, this team looks good to me. They don't look great yet. Like, they're close, but they're not quite at that great elite. Like, they are scrapping it. Couldn't they have lost this game easily? And then we're doing the opposite show. Oh, this and that, all these different nitpicks. So you feel good that they scrapped this one out, but they haven't reached that elite level yet. It's still early, as you say, John. You're still waiting for guys to hit their strides. But so far, it feels like they're just kind of getting by.
I think they're going through the motions, and I'm actually okay with it. I really am. Because meaning
casual.
No, because
early season, John.
No, like I said, I really do believe in it. It's a long season. You're seeing enough things going well. Like, to me, I like, and I use this analogy all the time. Like, with my golf, like when I play golf, I don't care how I score. Sometimes I just want to know that I'm making clean contact, and the rest will work itself out. I like enough of what I see here with them playing with space, with pace and space, with them, the offense looking better, having more contributions off the bench, the Brogdon thing, where you see the ingredients there, and you're like, I like the overall ingredients of this team. You're just assuming that they'll be able to, kind of turn up that defensive intensity when you have to, and when you get Rob back, and be a more complete team. But I like enough of what I'm seeing, and I'm not seeing enough like red flags, warning signs. Like, the defense isn't great, but I absolutely think it's fixable. So that's why I'm not. It's hard to overreact to one game versus the other, And it's a competitive East, as you said right now. When they're not complete, when they don't have Rob, these games against Cleveland's and the Chicago's, they're going to be really tough games. You might, think the Celtics are in the top 2 or 3 in the Eastern Conference when all is said and done. They might be, but again, these are all tough games. And look, it never stops. You got Miami, you got Philly, you got two against Chicago, 2 against Cleveland. These are good teams. They'll play some cupcakes too, and that'll help even things out. You need a few of those games. You need your Wizards, you need your Orlandos, even though that wasn't an easy game.
Yep, and good bounce back game from Joe. We talk about the late substitutions. I thought timeouts flying a little bit more in this one.
We mentioned that.
A challenge as well. Not a successful one, but there are games where you look at it and say, why not just use one, right? If you're wasting these timeouts anyway, just throw a challenge.
This one made sense. This one made sense. We're going to quickly show you guys here. This is Jayson Tatum almost getting killed in the post game. Here, check it out. It's basically paper. He was never really at risk. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not like a plate of glass falling on somebody at a hockey game.
Everyone was very concerned, though. I was looking up from my laptop. I'm like, whoa. I thought the room was going to explode or something.
Yeah, I know. Is Tatum okay? Anyway, we got another one tomorrow, and these guys are up and out, heading to New York. I know Bobby is. I know Josue is. Sherrod was on the fence. I'm not sure what's going on. Sherrod, you're sitting this one out? Sitting this one out. Good guy. Good boy.
Load management.
Yeah.
Good Al Horford plan.
Yeah. So we'll be back
and I will cover it.
We'll be back for another one tonight. We did not get into Kyrie Irving, and I think we're just going to skip Kyrie Irving. Even though, whatever, we're just going to skip it. We did plenty on it, and that's that. But the only interesting wrinkle here is everything got really quiet on the Ime Udoka front, and I'm wondering if how much what's gone on here recently with the Nets has changed that dynamic. It would be really interesting to me if the Celtics mourned Udoka's loss, if Mazzulla was like, finally, I don't have to worry about this guy hanging over my shoulder. Wick thinking like, fuck, God, I'm free of this. I get my money back. And Ime's like, I'm all set. I'm just going to stay suspended. You guys let me know when I can come back. All right. It'll be a little interesting if that's what happens. I'm just going to chill here. It's just a suspension. I'll be back next year. Right, guys?
Just wait.
And Bobby Manning asking the tough questions in the pregame, and I applaud it. Joe, considering the head coach is going to be coaching elsewhere, have you received any word on whether or not they're going to remove that interim tag? And he's like, no, still interim. And again, Udoka's not official. It's possible that they will remove that interim tag if Ime actually is gone, and it's a formality. But I do wonder, what do you guys think?
I think if Ime goes, I think they'll work something out with Joe. Everything I've seen and heard indicates that they love the job that he's doing. They love his potential to grow. And I think, for those of us on the outside looking in, when you look at how he coached his very first game and you look at what he did tonight, there's an undeniable growth that we've seen. I love the fact that, this is the Chicago team that they played twice. And when you look at the job he did the second time compared to the first, without question, he was better. And that, if you're the Celtics, you already have a team that is in many ways built, when fully healthy, built to compete for a championship, and you have a coach who's getting better as time moves on. That's a good combination if you're the Boston Celtics.
Yep, and I've heard similar, Sherrod. I think they're enamored with Joe. I think they want to retain him, have him go into the future as their head coach. They love the job he's doing so far. He's had pretty free reign on minutes, game plans, approaches, sometimes even, I think necessarily driving his own path on minutes and things that they're trying early on. So he's admitting, as he said in that pregame presser that John mentioned, he's making mistakes. He's leaning on players. He's leaning on his coaching staff. He's not even, I think, married to this timeout thing that we've complained about at certain points. As you see, he can be flexible with it tonight, and he ended up calling, I think, 6 of them. So
that's one thing I'll give him credit for. I like the experimentation here. Who would have thought a new coach would have the guts to play non-Tatum, non-Brown lineups ever. And he went to them a couple different times and everyone's like, oh my God, but he did it. That takes some confidence. What he did again tonight, not bringing Smart back into the game there. Yeah. That's also something. He's not afraid to experiment. He's tried double big. He's tried bringing Kornet. Bringing Griffin into the lineup. He's tried Vonleh in spurts. He had Vonleh as the first guy off the bench. He's the first big off the bench to start the year, and now he's buried again. So he's adapting on the fly. I think that's actually pretty impressive.
That's a sign of a good coach.
That's good, because it'd be really easy to get paralyzed, right? And just be like, I'm going to play my guys and I'm going to get my rotations and we're going to really hammer this home because that's what matters. That easily could have been the case. He's not doing that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull up the numbers right now. They've scored 205 with Tatum off. Their opponents have scored 184. Impressive stuff.
That's impressive. To find that right mix, that's great.
Yeah. They were capsized without Tatum last year. Remember that? They obviously played a super thin rotation, no bench. How thin of a thin ice was that bench on? If Neesmith came in or Tice or any one of those guys,
it was freaking brutal. And the Jalen only lineups were not enough to carry. It was when Tatum was off, they were bad.
Yeah.
So the offense would just absolutely stagnate. So again, credit to Joe on that stuff. Like we said, game tomorrow against the Knicks. We'll be back with some semblance of a post-game show. As we said, Josue and Bobby both heading down there again. Support our sponsors, please. We really do appreciate it when you do. It keeps the lights on here for us. athleticgreens.com/garden for a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Again, Athletic Greens, one-stop shopping, supplements, 75 vitamins and minerals. Get your body right. 1 scoop in a cup of water to start your day, and that's all you need. No need for a million different supplements, vitamins, and pills. Just get your AG1. athleticgreens.com/garden. Check it out. Once again, the Celtics beat the Bulls, get back in the win column, 123-119. All of these clowns are at the Garden, so they got to pack it up and head home. I am home, so.
Man, they almost packed me in with the stands.
Yeah.
They're getting ready for Bruins out there. So
make sure Amit's okay, guys. Go check on Amit.
Yeah.
Thanks to him, Amit, videographer, video producer, down at the Garden right now, helping those guys out, of course. Shout out to Tim Shields, our producer of this show, in the back, working it. Yep. What's up, Tim? Working the graphics, doing a lot of different things for us behind the scenes. We appreciate both of you guys tremendously. Thank you guys for watching. We love you all. We will see you tomorrow night. Take care.